This is Home Games. That's Steve Milton on the top row. Beside me, Bubba O'Neill from CHCH TV Sports. Down below, Rick Zamperin from 900 CHML. Alongside him, and I'm Scott Radley from the Hamilton Spectator and 900 CHML. And guys, late last week, late in the nighttime, the Times newspaper sent out a very shocking news story that said that the Japanese government sources said there was no way they can do the Olympics. The Olympics are going to be canceled. Hours later, the IOC and other people in the Japanese government said absolutely false. We deny that completely. Steve Milton, you have covered Olympics even before you started to glow so gloriously as you are right now. Are the Olympics going to happen this year? This year, are the Olympics going to happen, or are they going to have to be canceled?
I think at very least postponed. And when they say absolutely false, that story, that's a misuse of the word absolutely. Of course, it's a real good chance of it. And I'll point to the Mardi Gras, which has a lot of organizing to do, but is nowhere near as much organizing as the Olympics. And they were already going to start late, and they just basically said, we can't do it, and we just can't see how anybody else could do it. And they're not drawing from every single country in the world for everybody to come there, who also has to work their own logistics. I can't see it happening this summer. At the very best, I think I would see it quite late in the year, November, December.
Rick?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I think a postponement is going to be in order for the simple fact that I don't think, the Canadian Olympic Committee, the U.S. Olympic Committee, countries themselves who are going to be sending athletes to Tokyo are going to give the okay, or at least there's going to be enough athletes who are going to raise the red flag to say, can't we just do this later? I know there's going to be some who want to dive right in, literally into the pool if that's the case. But I think for the most part, there's going to be enough nations or Olympic committees or federations that say now is not the right time, or this summer is not the right time. Let's delay it a few more months.
What do you think, Bubs?
These games are doomed. These games are doomed. You cannot have two postponements in the same city of the Olympics. And it's unfortunate because Tokyo has put in so much money. They've built infrastructure. They've created advertisement, sponsors, but this is doomed. I still believe that sports in 2021 just can't happen. The IOC will not have an Olympics where fans will not be able to be in the venues. First off, they need to make money. And I cannot see, Steve, help me out, 250 countries participate in the Olympics?
Yeah, a little less than that, but yeah, I think so, yeah.
So there you go. There is, based on what's going on in the world with the virus, and even though we have vaccinations coming, but it's going to take months and months and months, and of course, for different areas of the world to get vaccinated and be clear, or at least somewhat clear of this virus. So to put together more than 200 countries of athletes in the same area, competing in the same areas, using the same bathrooms, I can go on and on. This will not happen. It will be a disaster. I cannot see it happening. I can see much criticism, and I'm sure that maybe the Japanese government weren't supposed to say what they said last week, but I believe they're looking at this on a realistic basis.
I'm not so sure. And look, everything you guys have said makes all kinds of sense. Of course it does, the numbers and everything else. But what's the old line about money talks, and you know what else comes after that? Japan has spent something in the order, the official number is 15 billion, but the real number apparently is $25 billion on these games. The IOC, it's been made clear that if they even push it another year, that would mean it's on the same year as the Winter Olympics. It spreads out the NBC wealth. They don't get as much bang for their buck. NBC's not happy. You're giving money back. I'm not sure that the Japanese government, that the IOC, that all the people are going to be willing to turn their nose up at the amount of money that's involved in this. And I think they're going to somehow, some way, endeavor to plunge ahead. If there's no fans, you do it like the NFL games. If it's just a TV event, if countries don't want to come, don't come. We don't care. Maybe we're going to spread it out over. Maybe we'll spread it out over 4 weeks. I read this from someone else. I wish I could give them credit because it was a good idea. We can't cram everyone into the athletes' village, so we're going to do it in two sections of 2 weeks and 2 weeks with half of the sports and half of the sports, so not as many people. I just have to believe they are going to go any way possible to make this thing go because of the money.
It's not about the Japanese money. It's about the NBC money. And that's the one way that it could, and that's why I just don't think they can make all of the adjustments in time by July.
Wow.
That's why I think it would be postponed. And I would say it would get really close to Christmas. And you could say, although then you'd be going against all the football extravaganzas through December, but the rest of the world wouldn't necessarily care. And NBC might want to take that on, especially if they could spread it out over a month through December. But it would take a long time to get that logistics together. And I just I cannot see it for.
I don't know how, but Rick, I just think they're going to try.
I would suggest to you, if that is the case, I mean, if you're having the summer games, that is one thing. You're going up against Major League Baseball. You're not going up against the National Football League, the NBA, or the NHL. I don't even know how NBC, what are they going to do with their Sunday night football package? They're going to scrap this? No way. It brings in too much money. And by then, maybe fans, there'll be maybe, 50% in NFL stadiums at that time. Worldwide, I just don't see this happening, guys. And if you stretch it out to some 1 month thing, I believe it becomes the most unsuccessful Olympics of all time because people.
Well, it's already going to be that. It's already going to. No, it isn't. Actually, everybody talks about '84 and how successful it was. But if you're a real objective person, '84 was not a successful Olympics. It just wasn't a successful American Olympics.
But what happens if some of the major, the heavy hitters on the Olympic scene say thanks, but no thanks? So I can't really see it, but what if the U.S. Olympic Federation says, we're just not comfortable in sending our athletes there? Or a lot of the athletes say, we don't want to go. Germany doesn't want to go. Russia says no. Canada, to a lesser extent, says we're not going. And you have, 100 nations, and most of them are based in, countries that, don't have the highest of the high athletes, those elite athletes. Are we still going to watch? Are they still going to rake in those sponsorship dollars? I don't know.
Well, NBC, of course, it's all about the Americans. As long as the Americans are willing to go, I really believe there is a very good chance the Olympics can still happen. If, as Steve said, it's the NBC money. If the Americans announce like they're not going, I agree, it's completely doomed.
Well,
but as long as they're still game, I think it's still on the table.
To Rick's earlier point, Canada at first was the first one to say we're not going to Japan.
Yep.
And then several hours later that everybody else said that and they moved back, but Canada sort of led the way there. So that's a good point by Rick. And the weird one that comes into this is Russia, because normally they would say we're going no matter what. They don't give a damn. Maybe not this time because of the status.
They don't have a country this time.
Exactly.
They don't.
Exactly.
Maybe they get allowed to. Maybe IOC is so, needing them that they go, okay, Russia, fine. We'll put it off for another Olympics. You can come this time. Come on, show up.
Well, maybe, but I think Russia would be more likely to say, well, that's fine with us because we're not going by name anyway.
What's going to drive people nuts?
It serves as our suspension. It serves as our suspension.
We got to go. You know what's going to drive people nuts, though, is that the IOC on the weekend, apparently someone from the IOC said, we're going to buy, like an independent country, vaccines and get all of our athletes vaccinated so they can come. Can you imagine if the IOC, if the Olympic athletes across the world are able to get vaccines and Canada is still waiting for ours to show up?
That's not going to happen. And it's something that's going to be maybe a 2-week or a 3-week event. Look what's going on. We'll just use the National Hockey League for an example. You have a star player like Alex Ovechkin. 4 major players, the starting goaltender, having to sit out for, I guess 4 games, which works out to about 2 weeks. The goaltender may be even longer. Can you have a worldwide Olympic event where all of a sudden, no, this guy can't compete because of the virus. This person can't. Oh, the favorite of the 100 meter can't compete because of he has coronavirus. Can you imagine the negative press for the IOC if they try to pull this off under these circumstances?
The IOC never really had a worry about it, but you're right. You're 100% right, Bubba. And also, can I speak for all of us when I say that we're not ignoring here the pains of these athletes?
No, I wrote about that this weekend.
We all know times of the pain and their desire to go is very, very high, and we can't. And we all feel that way because we all know Olympic athletes.
Rick, last word to you.
I was going to say, that if a multitude of athletes do test positive, if the games go ahead, Russia's going to get blamed for, sabotaging and, spreading the positive virus around. You just know it. You know it's going to happen.
What do you think watching? Will the Olympics happen? Is $25 billion plus the NBC money and everything else enough to convince them to plunge ahead? Or will common sense, and it may not even be common sense, will medical people prevail? Let us know. Comment down below, subscribe down below. Home games will be back in just a couple days. We're spreading them out. We're shortening them up a little bit. We'll be back really soon. Subscribe so you can be notified when we're coming, because we're coming soon. We'll talk to you then.